Hello. Hello, wonderful, beautiful, amazing people. And welcome back to just another Freckle Face YouTube channel. Make sure you like, subscribe, comment, share, all those wonderful things. I'm just going to jump right to it. I am very stressed out. Well, yeah, I'm very stressed out. I'm stressed out because I had to switch my topic at the last minute for my speech class. I'm going to explain why as good as I can. So here it goes. So I believe last class I was at, like last Monday, I talked to my teacher because the conversation of, quote unquote, controversial or political topics came up. So me being me, I wanted to make sure that, okay, let's make sure my topic is quote unquote appropriate. And, I'm able to inform the class of this topic without it being considered controversial, which it's not controversial. It's true, but I asked just to make sure. So I asked her, and the conversation basically went like, okay, you could talk about this topic, but how is it still affecting us to this day? So I said, okay, redlining. She said, okay. A lot of things have happened since redlining. Civil rights, equal rights, all that good stuff happened. So, you can talk about it, but is it still affecting us in 2025? And I said, I didn't think of it like that. So I went home, I did a little research, and I found myself finding, effects of redlining in Baltimore City. And I said, okay, I had already had a general idea that, redlining definitely affects Baltimore City. Because you ever lived in the city or driven past the city, you can see the difference between certain areas getting the attention it needs and wants, and it's going to get, versus certain areas not getting the attention. And, shout out to Mayor Scott. He ain't perfect, but he definitely is hitting those areas that needs attention. So I did my research and I said, okay. So I got the idea on that. So I said, I'll talk about this, but I said, wait, half of us don't live in Baltimore City. We live in Harford County. So I said, okay. So how does redlining from Baltimore City affect redlining in Harford County? And I said, okay, has there been instances of redlining in Harford County? I'd looked that up. And the articles basically said not necessarily. They said basically, from what I understood, the article said is that individuals from Baltimore City were escaping or leaving. White individuals were leaving Baltimore City since it became integrated, and they were quote unquote escaping from black individuals and moving to Harford County, which is generally known as a suburban area, which again, that has a lot to do with redlining and, white suburban areas, right? Keep up with me. Now, I said, okay, I got what they were saying with that. Basically, they left and moved up here and kind of started everything here and there. So I said, so how does this still affect us to this day? And that's the thing that made me stop and have a freeze, because I didn't know. I didn't know what to look up specifically. I mean, I had ideas in my head like, okay, some individuals in this county are a lot of prejudice. Some of them wear that red hat. Not this. You know which red hat I'm talking about. They wear that maggot hat. A lot of them do. A lot of them believe in the back, the blue, which is not an issue, but the blue up here is very prejudiced. Yeah, do your research, because I definitely did. But a lot of them, it's just a lot of racial prejudice. And especially in recent times, people have definitely shown their true colors. So I kind of get the connection with that, but I had a hard time kind of explaining that in a proper way. So now I'm like, okay, where do I go from here? So I said, okay, well, maybe I can go back to my Black Panthers idea. But then I was like, no, she's going to again say, what's the relevance? And then I couldn't think of anything again. So again, at a standstill. What am I going to do? So one of my friends sent me an idea. It's talking about the Tuskegee experiments. Now, if you don't know what the Tuskegee experiments are, I'm going to give quick cliff notes on it, basically. In the 1930s, 1932, government and healthcare officials basically said to the Black residents of Tuskegee, Alabama, hey, we're going to promise you healthcare, free healthcare, food, and treatment for bad blood, which was syphilis at the time. And the Black residents of Tuskegee, Alabama thought that, okay, we're getting treatment, we're getting health care, we're getting checkups. They thought they were getting the best, right? In all reality, they were not. They were under that guise of getting the best, when in all reality, they were getting the worst. They were being injected with syphilis. And the government officials and the healthcare officials basically wanted to see the long-lasting effects of syphilis if untreated. So basically, we were guinea pigs. We were medical guinea pigs without being used for these experiments, without our consent and our knowledge. So, there's that. Welcome to America. And so, okay. I said, I'm going to use this idea and I'm going to go a step further. I said years ago, and I talked about this in my last video, I think, I did I did an essay on how certain things are affecting the Black community today. I pray I find that essay, because I promise you, I want to read it to y'all. I want to read it to y'all so bad. If I find it, I'll read it to y'all. But I'm not looking for it right now. Anyways, I did that, and I kind of went further into how medical mistreatment over the years basically deterred Black America. And I looked into it. I said, okay, you got the story of Dr. Marion Sims, who was the father or godfather of gynecology, but he did horrendous medical experiments on Black enslaved women without anesthesia and, of course, without their consent. And this is the type of things that led to, medical mistrust. With that, on top of Tuskegee experiments, certain teachings and beliefs, medical myths. A medical myth I saw that they basically said that Black people have less pain tolerance and or tougher skin than white counterparts. And I just took all this information. I said, okay, this is good, because I am someone who's in the medical field. I see some of these things firsthand. Now, I'm not saying I've ever seen anybody mistreat anybody physically. No, ma'am. However, I've seen the attitudes of certain individuals in the healthcare field towards white patients and Black patients. I could give an example, but it's just one of those things where, certain people get treated better and some people just get treated bare minimum. Me, I try to treat everybody with kindness and respect. Of course, that's given and given back. Of course, as medical professionals, we are at a duty to, treat people regardless. But unfortunately, this medical myth does pass down from generation to generation, so it's not a surprise. But it's something that I pray that breaks away. Now, back to this. Anyways, I gathered all my information, and I had to basically, first I had to write out everything that I put on note cards. I had to do an outline. I had to print out the outline. I had to print out the bibliography, basically where I got my information from. Excuse me. And I had to do a visual aid. So I had to do a PowerPoint. Excuse me. And when doing a PowerPoint, it's really giving me a headache. I finished that all up like probably 20 minutes ago. And I'm proud of my work, and I just pray that I can properly articulate my message and this information. Because this is vital information, in my opinion. This is vital information. Any type of information that involves history is very vital, because personally, when you look at the past, you look at history, you understand why certain things are happening in the present. And when you understand the past and the present, you can do better. If you know better, do better. You teach your kids in the future so they can do better, so they can learn from their past and learn from the past mistakes of others and do better and help society be better. You feel me? You feel me? Now, like I said, I pray this goes well, because this is not an easy class for me. I don't like talking unless I want to talk about something. I usually keep quiet. I keep to myself. Some people will say I'm more extroverted than introverted and vice versa. But, I'm just not good at speaking in front of people I don't know. And I pray that this class helps me to do that, because I really want to be somebody who can speak in front of people that I don't know. It's easy for me to speak on camera right now versus if I had some type of following. I couldn't do it. I couldn't do it. I'd be like, oh. Like, I promise you, I would be gone. I would be running out the room like, no, I can't do it. So, there's that. Pray for your girl, because school ain't going to get easier, but quitting is definitely not an option. Anywho, next topic. It is October, and in the words of Pinterest pictures, it's Ween. It's Ween. It's Halloween. Oh my gosh. We are at Halloween 2025, y'all. I'm excited. I don't look excited. I look tired, but I'm very excited. So my plans for Halloween are to participate in a trunk or treat event coming up it's October now, coming up on the 18th, I believe, or 20th. I don't know. I gotta look and see. It's one of them dates. Anyways, I'm doing a trunk or treat for my niece's elementary school. I was going to do one for a different area in Harford County, but I quickly changed my mind. It got a little overwhelming. I just said, you know what, I'm going to do something small and local at first. And once my business gets rolling more and more, I'm going to do that another time. So, I'm doing something small and local. And I am dressing up as... I don't want to tell you. I'm going to keep it a secret. I'm going to keep it a secret. And I'm going to give you a hint. It is... I don't know what type of hint to give. Dang. Okay. I know what hint to give. Matthew Dillard played him in a live action movie. That's it. And that's all I'm going to say. You take a guess what it is. If you don't know, you don't know. Anyways, that was my plans for Halloween. And it's so crazy. Because growing up, if you were Christian, you never celebrated Halloween. You were never allowed to. And, I mean, kind of still not allowed to. But, I'm an adult now. I pick and choose holidays to celebrate. You know, I don't really celebrate July 4th anymore. I celebrate Juneteenth. I still celebrate Christmas in a way. Thanksgiving, I guess, maybe. I'm not reaching home at work. But Halloween, I take it as, I don't know. I've always been that type of kid who liked to dress up and make believe and pretend and all these things. And as I got older, and it's like, you know, I got to go to certain Halloween events. And don't get me wrong, when we was younger, we had, Christians had Hallelujah Night. And we didn't really dress up for Hallelujah Night, but that's what we had. We had Hallelujah Night, and I think Hallelujah Night went from that to Trunk or Treat. So, I mean, it's still cool. I know some people say that Trunk or Treats are controversial because some people like trick-or-treating, the old school way, going from house to house, and I said I can't speak on that because I was never allowed to do that, but, you know, your feelings are valid. But yeah, we had Hallelujah Night and we didn't really dress up. But when I got older and I was able to like buy my own costumes, and my niece and nephew was young enough and I got their costumes, like almost every year I got them a costume. And this year I still trying to get them a costume. My niece want to be a granny. She wants to be an old lady. And my nephew wanted this Scream costume. I gotta show you. Hold on. My nephew wanted a Scream costume. And it was like $60 at Home Depot, $70 on Amazon. I said, oh, okay. Well, I said, damn, you might get the cheaper version of it, but, you know, whatever. And he said, okay. Then he said, give me a second. I'm going to see if I can find another costume that I want. I said, okay, cool, I got you. So I texted his mother. And I said, Mason sent me a $60 costume idea. Who keeps telling him to get the most expensive things? And my sister said, what costume did he send you? I said, this is the costume. You know, Scream, all that, right? I showed it to her. I said, $70. She said, mercy. I said, he gets the cheap version. I said, instead of Scream, he gonna get Holler. He gonna get Shout, Yell. My sister Brittany said, Bellow. I responded, I said, Hoot and Holler. And I sent her a picture of it. I said, here you go. Oh my God. I said, this is really the cheap version. Oh my gosh. And I had a compare and contrast picture, but I have too many photos. But I was in tears when I sent that a couple weeks ago. Like, bro, you gotta think cheaper than that. But I'm still gonna get him a costume. I don't know if it's gonna be that one. If I got the funds for it, maybe. If not, he got miss me with that. I love him to death, but $70. Well, moving on to my last topic. Okay. I wanted to talk about, I'm talking about that, and I'm going to save my last topic for another day, just because I want to do more research on it before I talk about it more. Cardi and Nicki and Cardi. We're back on this topic again. Of course we are. So here goes nothing. This is a disclaimer. If any of you obsessed Nicki Minaj fans come in my comment section on some weird stuff, don't do it. Don't do it. Go find Jesus. Please. Because You cannot idolize somebody that much. Go find you a religion. Go find you a religion. Go find you something to do. Go find you a hobby before you come up to somebody's comment section about somebody that don't know you personally and wouldn't spit on you if you were on fire. Now, with that being said, I like both women equally. I do. I like both their music. I grew up on Nicki's music when I was like preteen. She was definitely, gotta give her props. She definitely best of the best. When Cardi came out, I remember her on Love and Hip Hop. I remember listening to her music before she like blew up. Like, I saw her on Love and Hip Hop. I looked her up. I followed her on Instagram. I listened to her music. I was like, okay, I like her old stuff. Then she blew up with Bodak Yellow. I liked it even more. I said, this is the girl. I'm proud of her. You know, as somebody who's like, okay, you came from something from nothing. I'm proud of it. I respect both of them equally. But what I find hard is that every time somebody has some ounce of success, a female rapper has an eensy ounce of respect of success, Nicki swoops her way in to say something mean and nasty. She swoops her way into Twitter, ranting and raving about any and everything. And so, me being me, after her last ranting and raving, I unfollowed her. Why? Because it got too much. I'm not being mean or nasty. I don't think I follow either one of them on Instagram, honestly. But it gets to a point where I'm like, okay, this is not healthy. Like, it's not. Something mentally is going on for somebody to rant and rave like that on a daily, weekly, monthly basis. Somebody who everybody considers the queen of rap has now reduced herself to the queen of rant. The queen of rants, ranting, raving. And so it's like, okay, how do we get from point A to point B? Now, people, again, have said back in the day, this is who she is. Now, as a society, we didn't want to believe them, but as time went on, you just start to see the pieces chip and unfold, and it's like, okay, what is the problem? And people would be like, oh, after the baby, she gonna change. No. She don't act like that because she with that man. No. I'm pretty sure she's been like this for a minute. And that man is only enabling her. I really feel like once you get an enabler, you just get worse. And I feel like, I don't know what's going on in her house personally, but I feel like it's just getting worse. And it's like, ma'am, you are extremely successful. It was a quote years ago. Someone said, Nicki doesn't know she's Nicki. She doesn't know. She don't have to sit here and keep proving to people that she's the best. We know she's the best. Everybody knows she's the best. And yet, here we are still. You're still trying to prove you're the best. This lady literally just kept posting all her streams and stuff of like in 10Ks and all that. Like, oh, I got this many likes and this many views and this many streams. And it's like, why are you doing this? Why are you comparing yourself to new talent? And why are you trying to bring down people? Why do you want people to kiss your butt? People have already given you your props. So why do you want, what more do you want? And I feel like, again, I don't know what her issue is, but it's like, why don't you feel secure in yourself? Like, what is stopping you from feeling secure about yourself and your craft and everything that you've done and did for the rap game, for female rappers? And trust me, this is not excusing her behavior. We're not going to excuse her behavior. It's just atrocious. But it's like something, it has to be more that is going on in there. I don't know. And I pray that, I mean, I don't know what type of redemption you gonna get, but I pray that, you know, you figure it out, man. We can't figure out for you. And a lot of people say, oh, it's the fans, it's the fans. I say, yeah, you're right. Because a lot of the Cardi's fans ain't shit either. Like with the whole Samira situation, when Samira told Cardi, hey, don't say certain things about the don't say certain things about the plus size community. Me being a part of the plus size community, don't say anything about it. And I'm like, okay, yeah, I get it, you know. And I was like, you so sensitive, you know, yeah. And she over here fussed her out, says she's sensitive, all these things. I'm like, what? And then tried to backpedal and say, oh, I could be talking about something better. Well, why are we comparing, contrasting issues? An issue is an issue. You can talk about both. So I didn't like that. So that's probably why I might have followed her. I don't know. But again, fans adding fuel to the fire. Y'all sit here and bully this lady offline, but it really don't matter because she is successful. I think she just got a clothing line with somebody from JCPenney. I'm not sure who, but she's a huge success. Great model, beautiful face, beautiful voice, all that. She don't need social media for y'all. She don't. That girl could make it on her own with or without y'all. Samira. But like I said, the fans, they just, I feel like the fans get into people's heads and then people just go from there. Like they literally add fuel to the fire. Like, I kid you not. They just add fuel to the fire. Where's my lighter? I need an example. I can't find my lighter. I was going to give an example, but I can't find my lighter. Well, either way. Anyways, you know, and the fans adding fuel to the fire, it kind of reminds me of like, you know, you get into a fight and somebody instigating like, oh, they said something about your mom. Or they said something about your dead granny or something like that. Like, stupid stuff like that. Like, that's instigating. And I feel like that just makes stuff worse. I feel like once people stop listening to certain people and certain things, I feel like Nicki and Cardi could probably move on better. And that's just me. That's just my opinion. I feel like this feud is pointless. And I feel like it's other things that's going on in this world that could be talked about. Which, again, we'll get to next week. It could be talked about better than this. But I decided to just give my 2 cents because why not? I'll give my 2 cents. And you know what's even funnier? One of my friends made a TikTok like a few days ago. She made a TikTok a few days ago about the situation. And I commented, and I'm going to find the comment. In the comment I said, I really think it's a serious mental problem going on with her. And she might be using that like something not right in the head for her to have problem with literally everyone at this point. She don't have real friends around her that will call her out on her foolishness. Just a bunch of yes men and a bunch of yes men followers who still try to defend her after all the horrible stuff she tweeted and said. I like Nicki too, but never in a million years have I or will I ever defend her behavior. Like you said, it gets to a point. Because in the video, my friend said it gets to a point where it's like, okay, she the problem. And I said that, and I want to make it clear, I didn't say she was using, but it seems like she is using. But I don't think she is. And if she's not, then hey, good for her. But I commented that and somebody was like, get your facts straight. She's suing somebody. She doesn't use that. And I was about to comment and said comment unavailable. I said, don't I said, don't comment something and run away. Don't comment something and run away from a fight. That's like if I comment something on Facebook and somebody say something, we're going back and forth. Don't comment something and run away from a fight. Don't run away from an argument. You want to talk to me and tell me what I'm not understanding. If you want to defend her and tell me why. And tell me why she's doing what she's doing. Nobody can still even say why she's doing what she's doing. They don't give no explanation. And don't give no valid reason why. Nobody gives a valid reason why she's doing what she's doing. Just a bunch of, like I said, yes men followers who go along with everything she says. And maybe she's right about some things. I don't know. I stopped following her because I'm tired of it. Every other day it's a rant and it's a rave. It's a problem. If you want to talk about it, go. What that girl say? Lotto, do you rap or do you tweet? I can't tell. Get in the booth. Do you rap or do you tweet? I can't tell. Get in the booth. Get in the booth. Rap about this stuff. Rap about it. You was a rapper. You was the queen of rap. Go in the booth, write it down, and rap about it. Since you want to sit here and tweet about it so much, don't say nothing. Rap about it. Put it in your album, and then let everybody speculate, comment, and share all their thoughts and opinions about it. Do what Beyonce do. Don't address nothing. Put it in your music. Put it in your music. Put it in your music. Put it in your craft. Don't address nothing. Put all that stuff into your music. I bet then maybe somebody might, give you attention. But I see, I get it now. I get why she said that. Do you rap or do you tweet? I can't tell. Get in the booth. Get in the booth. Shut up and get in the booth. And with that being said, that's all I got to say. Because I'm about to sit here, wrap myself up in these blankets, and eat my dinner. Y'all have a good night. Be safe. Make good choices. Be blessed. And remember, I'm not anybody special. I'm just another freckle face. Deuces.